I've hit the button.
Real quick.
Oh, too late. I've hit the button.
Once the button's been hit.
Write it down so you remember it later. Okay, we is live on the interwebs. Hello, everyone. I don't suspect there's anyone there yet watching. As you can tell from my nasal tones, I've come down with something, but we shall persevere.
You're from the north.
Show always comes first and all
As
that.
you can tell from my nasal tones, I'm not from the south.
Let me find our video, because I've just closed the window and it's gone. I'll find it in a minute. I don't need it. So, this is live news. There's three of us here. You've got me, Scott, and Sparkle. Random is otherwise engaged. So, we'll start off as usual with what we've been up to since we last spoke. I should mention last month's show, Dinosaur Pie, reached 100 episodes. And if you listened to Simon, you would know that already. So, congratulations to Simon on 100 episodes. I'm about to edit 101. So, well done, Simon. Popular part of the show. His last one, he did a collab with George. So, an interesting listen. We got some good feedback. He got some good and bad, but we got mainly good. So, other show news. I promised maybe a couple of months ago that I had some show news for July. So, that show news is this. So we started this show in February 2009, and SoCal Mike left in October 2015 after almost 7 years. And he did 91 shows with us, including specials, that is. If you count his appearance when we interviewed the Retro VGS crew, that would be 92. But it was 80 monthly shows, regular roundups, not including specials. So this next show, about to be released, will mean we've done more shows, including specials, without SoCal than with him. And 184, the next show in August, will be more shows, including specials and including the Retro VGS interview. So, yeah, more shows without SoCal than with.
But, I have absolutely no love for the guy. I mean, he defrauded many, many people. And
yourself included.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no question. He was essentially remorseless about it. And if anything, so depraved, he could only see himself as a victim. Some of that bill has come due. Some of it hasn't. But it's all going to come due. And he's learned some painful lessons and some more painful ones to come. So, yeah, But I wouldn't ever, at the time, I didn't think it was the right decision to go and erase the content or erase the history. And I wouldn't say that's a good idea now. I think it's still a good idea to leave things as they were. And in fact, just the other day, as I was loading up the show, getting ready to record, I was looking at the little characters you have up top from CG Adventures. And the SoCal with the stars around you have up top from. That's so good.
I was playing you back. We had a bit of an echo. Yeah.
But I'd say leave as is. There's no need to purge him from the history. He was a part of getting the show started. He turned into a dirty scammer when he went criminally insane. And, it's a hell of a piece of history. What are we going to do? Delete it all and say it never happened? Please.
Yeah. We wouldn't be the first channel to do it if we did. So this last month, I might have been drunk one evening and I thought, I've not spoken to Gordon Murphy for a long time. So Gordon Murphy, if you recall, was the guy who started Machu Picchu Mike on this Commodore 64. We met a few times at expos. Can't remember if you've met him at an expo, but
I believe I did.
Yeah, so I reached out to him, just, hi Gordon, how's it going? Not spoken in a while, etc. And he's had a baby. He had a lockdown baby. So congratulations to Gordon and Mrs. Gordon on the birth of their son.
Yeah, we know what you like to do, Gordon.
Yeah, we know what lockdown was like in your house.
Brown chicken,
So,
brown cow.
TV, movies. So TV, I watched a show called Trying. If you're looking for like an easy comedy you might want to watch with your other half, then Trying is pretty good. It's an English show about a couple trying to have a baby. Gordon Murphy need not apply. Watched one called Cuckoo that's a few years old. I'm still on about season 3. That's pretty funny. First season has got Andy Samberg in from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Pretty funny show. That's worth a watch. What else? Watched Stranger Things. No spoilers, but I watched season 4 of Stranger Things. And some people were saying, oh, it's the best one ever. I didn't think it was the best one ever. I thought it was good. There's going to be another without doubt. I like the show. I know not everyone does, but it was good. Well worth a watch. Games-wise, so I picked up the 3DS a couple of weeks ago, and there's some games on there, some Club Nintendo games, Picross, Mario-themed, and Picross Zelda. I've finished those, played through those. I've been going back through some Commodore 64 games that I never completed back in the day. Completed a couple of those. Tales of the Arabian Nights was one. I can't remember the other what the other one was. I meant to write it down and forgot. But that was one. But I've been going through a few C64 games. And yesterday, I think it was, I started Wind Waker on the GameCube. So I played most of like the top-down Zeldas, you know, the Game Boy ones, the NES and stuff like that. So I may go back to A Link in the Past because I didn't finish it. I kind of got bored and then went back on, forgot where I was up to, and it was just like, I can't pick this up now. So I may go back to that, but I've done pretty much all the top-down ones. So I started the Wind Waker, so I'm enjoying that up to now. And I found a Picross game and look about, you know, all the systems to try and find Picross games that I've not completed yet. And I found one, a homebrew one on the GP2X, which I never owned, but my Pandora emulates it. So it's called Ghost Pix if you're interested. And I think that is pretty much me this month.
Well, I have been up to a little bit of classic computering. So, went through and did a realignment, rearrangement on a couple of my PCs. You know, my authentic Commodore 64 that I had in use has been retired to the shelf duty now, and I've totally replaced that for day-to-day use with the C64. It's just a great platform. Native HDMI out, dead nuts reliable. Games play great, so why put hours on vintage hardware, right? So I got that. And then I found just the perfect monitor stand. It's intended for a keyboard to go under it, but what I have under there is my Tandy 1000HX, which is about the same size, say, as an Amiga, 500, 1200. It's one of those, keyboard, drive, all-in-one computers. So I have a couple of these things. I had two that one was sort of set up for gaming use, demo use, one set up for just general use. So a couple new things that come available. A guy made a pretty cool 3-in-1 memory adapter for it that included some high memory, so you can free up more base memory. So did some basically cross-leveling of components and got all that redone. Got a new GoTech drive for it, which is a floppy emulator. Basically, it hooks up to your floppy bus, and the PC thinks it's talking to a floppy. And in fact, it's just a USB, stick sticking out the front of the thing. The newer version has like a rotary encoder, so you can literally spin the knob and pick the disk image, and then press the knob and it loads it. It's got a little screen on it now. It used to be all done by digits, so it would say like just alphanumeric, like track R1 or something. So it's just a much better way of doing it. Got my Wi-Fi 32 modem hooked up to that now. Just some net general improvements there. But I picked up two computers that I had long since been trying to acquire. One, it's a compact 286 called the LTE. And a essentially unused example came up on eBay. Every now and then you get a great seller until maybe they sometimes figure out how to not be a great seller. That has a ton of old computer stuff, a lot of times these electronic recyclers will sometimes clear out a warehouse. And you often have every now and then some good opportunities. I got to tell you, eBay lately, with the economy being in the absolute shitter as it is, people are parting with more of their extras, And I have been buying quite a few things off of eBay that were unobtainable. I got a second IMSIA, which is those you'd see like one a year. Heck, there's 3 of them on eBay in the last month. So things are definitely turning up at a much higher rate. Prices are okay. They're not as insane as they were maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, but they're higher than they were say 10 years ago. But the Compact 286 was in fantastic condition. Even the drive worked, which you just don't expect in these older drives. And it works fine. In fact, all the original files are on there. The thing had basically been installed, a couple documents created, and then no visible signs of use. The battery pack still held 0.5 volts. And the other computer I picked up was one that I was kind of wanting to buy back in the day when I was looking to get my first 486 laptop. And sort of the two leading competitors was an IBM ThinkPad, and then this one computer called a Nova laptop, and it was a 486, 4 mega RAM, expandable to 8, had I believe, a 110 meg hard drive. Pretty good, respectable specs for a laptop, especially one of the second gen 486s. And this is kind of one of the laptops that really makes the image of a laptop. When they stop being like semi-portables or luggables, when the screen, instead of being maybe half of the actual size of the back panel, was pretty much the full back panel. Albeit with some margin, but it was identifiable as a comparably modern laptop. So the computer was also in immaculate condition, no corrosion whatsoever. Funny enough, when these went up for sale, they were listed in places like Computer Shopper and Bytes and just your sort of your big. If you remember back in the day, the giant inch to inch and a half thick computer parts magazines that were out. So when I went to order it, they contacted me back and said, "Oh, we're out of stock of those. What would you like us to do?" And I said, "Well, I need the thing. I'll go with the IBM." And the IBM ThinkPad was a wonderful choice. Love the thing. But I always wanted one of those Novas. And years later, I found one. It wasn't in the best of shape, and I never saw another one. Apparently, they just didn't make that many of them. It was kind of revolutionary specs for the time, so I don't know why it didn't really have a bigger impact. But anyway, the one I got was immaculate, and somehow ended up in Australia, where somebody did their college homework on it, at least about 12 papers, wrote a batch file to tell somebody that they love them, and shut it down and left it alone. And the thing, also the battery pack, no leaks. Now, these older units ran on either, in the case of the 286, it was a 5-volt battery, 4.8 volts. And the other one was a 7.2 volt. So either a 4-cell or a 6-cell nickel cadmium. So, look, I'm not going to carry these things around on battery power. It would not be a difficult task to, put in a voltage regulator and lithium pack and run these things off of lithium packs. But that's another battery pack to keep track of, which, already as many of these little retro goodies I have, half of them have got a, lithium ion pack in it. Like I got one of those little Spiro, BB8s or whatever. I got to remember to charge that every now and then because, once those packs go dead, it can be a mess. So anyway, I picked up, and I'll get into this in the hardware flashback in greater detail, but basically a adapter board that's going to let me run this off of USB. So both of them now have a USB-C port. So you plug it into the power supply and, as long as it can provide the power necessary, which both laptops were right around 1 amp. Some of them had slightly more on startup, but that was brought back down once I went solid state for the drive. So pretty much both these in the battery compartment, you pop it open, you pull out a USB-C cord, you plug it in, more than enough power off your rated USB-C port to boot the laptop up and run it. And when you're done, fold the cord back up, put it back in the battery compartment. So it's reversible. I'll explain all that in a hardware flashback, but those are both fun projects, having a 286 and 46 laptop. I mean, the 286 ones, what are you going to really do? Run some SimCity, Windows, 1 or something. But it's still pretty cool. I've always liked the 286. It's always one of my favorite processors. So that's kind of what I've been up to. And on to you, Mark.
All right. Well, it seems like it's been a while since I've been in the news. It's had a lot going on the last couple months, but start off with games. So as far as games, I continued to play Galaga Wars Plus. That is the Apple Arcade sort of reimagining of Galaga. I've been playing this thing for months, and I got hooked. And I've unlocked like every single ship. I've upgraded every single ship to the maximum. I've like completely maxed out the game. I did that maybe a week ago or something. So I think at this point, I'm completely done with it because the last there's kind of like 11 levels, and then after that it goes to like an infinite 256, kind of like the original where there's like a crash screen and whatnot. So you can kind of just keep going endlessly, but the game does crap out. So you're just kind of playing for points at that level once you kind of get as far as you can go. And I don't know, I've probably put 100 plus hours into this game, so I think I'm done with it. But been playing some Lunar Lander based off the earlier top 10 that you would have heard, and fired up some emulation Low G Man, which is some shovelware, and been playing a lot of Godzilla. So just keep going to the arcade to play Godzilla. I got a couple friends that ordered a Godzilla, so I'm really on the fence whether or not I should plunk down just sort of my holding fee to order one. We're in the midst of finishing the basement. This has been sort of a never-ending project over the last, 7 months or so, and I can see the end in sight. And I'm only going to have limited space for what I can put down there, and I'm strongly considering getting rid of kind of my other machines and just going with a Godzilla. Have you guys played that yet?
No, but what machines are you looking at getting rid of?
Probably gonna get rid of my Neo Geo. It's a 4-player and a dart machine. I think I'll get rid of those to make space for the Godzilla. I haven't played a pinball in a number of years that just like really captured me, and it would maybe be a Cactus Canyon is sort of a favorite. But this Godzilla, I don't know, man. There's just something so good about it, and I feel like I'm pretty decent too. So maybe that's
secretly why I want to grab it, man.
Yeah, I love the Godzilla theme. I know there's some new Sterns coming out and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think I need to plunk down the money before they kind of finish up the ordering process on these. If you haven't played one, I strongly recommend it. I don't know. There's there's so many that come out, and I'm like, well, I like this about it. I like that. It's a little too fast, a little too slow. I can't get some of these shots, but for whatever reason, I just feel the Godzilla. So I don't know. Maybe by next month, I'll announce that I've plunked down my pre-order money or something. But and we also picked up a weird game this past weekend. My 10-year-old wanted this game. She had heard about it. So we bought it digitally on the PlayStation 5, and it's called Stray. Have you heard of this, Scott?
Yeah, so I was watching for that game. Then funny enough, I hadn't really heard much. And I was looking around on the PlayStation 5 to just see what their, the PlayStation monthly game was, whatever. And I saw that it literally had released, I think it was the 17th. It was like 5 days ago or something. Yeah, it had just released like that minute, funny enough. So I asked the wife, because the wife really likes cat, and so a cat with a backpack is going to be her thing. So I asked her, I said, look, do you want this thing? And she's like, no, I wouldn't go downstairs to play it or this, that, and the other. So I haven't really looked at it beyond that, but yes, I'm aware of it.
I think you'd like it too. It's a really interesting game. Like you kind of start off and you're like a cat and a pack of stray cats, and then some event happens. You're basically separated. You kind of wake up and you're like, where the hell am I? And you kind of like get this little like computer companion guy that's like on a backpack that helps you open doors and kind of remember stuff. It's definitely more like a 3D puzzle platformer. There's like a couple little creatures that can kind of mess you up, but you're not really like attacking and stuff like that. You're just trying to avoid dangers and obstacles and figure out puzzles. It's hard enough that like when you solve one of the puzzles, you're like, oh, okay, like that felt good, but it's not to the point where you're gonna like snap your controller and you're like, fuck this game. So it's good, and like, man, they really got the mannerisms. I think if you're a cat fan, this is a game for you. And if you're a fan of, sort of the puzzle platforming aspects of like a Tomb Raider, this would be a great game for you. I don't know how far, like we're a couple hours into it. It's interesting. The graphics are beautiful, but like just little nuances. Like if there's a puddle of water, you can kind of walk up to it and the cat will start licking the water. Or like if you're idle too long, it'll kind of like curl up, or like it will, kind of wiggle its tail, and just the mannerisms are spot on for anybody that's owned a cat before. So it's a charming little game. I think it was $30 digitally. I would assume you can buy it. Well, I don't know, but I would assume, like, I wish I would have bought the disc, but it was more of an impulse purchase. It's a good game. I recommend it. I think it's fun. I don't know that there's going to be a ton of replay value. Like once you go through the game, like, am I going to go back and play more of this cat thing? But as far as like, I look to it more of a kitten of, you kind of pay for the experience to go to a theater type thing, and enjoy the movie that way. Kind of look at it as like you're paying to play through this game once and just kind of enjoy it for what it is. I don't know that there's a whole lot to go back and do. Maybe, because there is like a couple chase scenes where, I zigged instead of zagged type thing. So I wonder, if I went back, maybe I could have went a different direction or something like that. But it seems to be pretty linear so far. Good game. I enjoy it. As far as shows, same with UK. Finished up Stranger Things. I binged the first set of the season, then I binged the final two. I love the Master of Puppets scene when they're playing that. Just that show really reminded me of like one of my favorite cartoons from growing up, Dungeons and Dragons, where like they're all getting ready to go and like they're kind of putting together their like weapons, and they're like whittling spears and making like trash cans with like nails in them and stuff like that. It just sort of remind me of like the group of characters from Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, where it's like you didn't really have a knight with a sword or a battle axe. You had a dude with a shield, somebody with an invisibility cloak, a little kid with a club. So it was just sort of like a motley crew with like mixed mash weapons, and just kind of reminded me a bit of that TV show. So I really enjoyed that. I did end up watching Ozark. I know I'm a bit behind on that. That came out years ago, but I hadn't seen it, and so many friends and even family members told me like, oh, you gotta watch Ozark, you gotta watch it. I watched that whole shit in 1.5 speed on my iPad over a couple weeks, and I'm glad I did. I thought it was good, but like if I would have had I watched a couple episodes on the TV at normal speed, but I think it was good to watch in 1.5 speed. And if I would have had to wait for seasons to come out and things like that, I think I would have got bored, or like just probably not waited for the next season. I just probably would have been like, I'm done after the season or something, but it was okay. I went and saw Thor Love and Thunder opening night with my kids. That was pretty fun. Still liked Thor Ragnarok 3 significantly better. That was way better. On the bourbon front, my significant pickup is I picked up an old Fitzgerald Bottled and Bond 17 Spring 2022 release. Pretty happy about that. So I've been able to keep my old Fitzgerald Bottled and Bond series going. So I have the complete vertical there. And I did a comic book convention as a vendor last month. Had a couple buddies fly in from all over the country to help me. Just had a bunch of old comic books, just boxes and boxes of sort of comic stuff that I need to liquidate. And I definitely, hindsight, maybe I should have tried to work some bigger trades or something instead of just selling them to a dealer. It was like, the way the tax laws changed with eBay and sort of the pain in the ass of the accounting and everything else. I mean, I just had so much stuff. It was easier to kind of get rid of it in one fell swoop. Learned a lot from doing that show. Seems like the economy's certainly softened in the collectibles market. Like a lot of people just weren't interested in the vast number of Bronze Age comics that I had. They were all, and I had a lot of stuff that was graded. So I think instead of looking for books that were in that $100 to $300 range, most of the people coming there were looking for raw books that, was maybe pay $10 with the hopes of them grading it for it to be worth 100 or 150 type thing. Most of the way I had my stuff graded, I think it does well on eBay, but not really great for a show. I did make a pretty big trade. I traded for Marvel Tales 116, which those of you that are comic book people, this was like a pre-Marvel book from like the 50s when they were Atlas Publishing, and it's Werewolf by Night, sort of proto Werewolf by Night. It's a pretty scarce book, and I got a high-grade copy of it. I'm just sort of a fan of the werewolf theme and some of the pre-code horror comic books, so I picked that up for my collection, so that will stay in my personal collection. But all in all, pretty good. Definitely some interesting cosplayers. We were all kind of joking at the show. Like my buddy flew in from LA, another guy was up from Atlanta, another couple buds from around the area came in, and we're kind of laughing like, man, instead of selling comic books, like some of the shit that was selling was like, I'd say maybe 60% of the crowd there was there for like the plushies or just like looky-loos, watching people dress up in cosplay, or like buying some kind of fidget spinner shit or 3D printed tchotchkes, or like shot glasses with superhero screen printed on them. Like there was even though this is one of the larger comic book shows, like pure comic book shows, it just seemed like that so much of the crowd was there for the weird shit. But I think I would have done much better if I had a booth that was called Queer Eye for the comic book guy. And I just would have had like a bunch of people that could like do makeovers for some of these folks, because, you saw a lot of like really bad outfits with like tube socks and stuff like that. Or like, I literally, somebody shit their pants in front of my booth. So definitely some interesting people there. Some interesting smells as well. If you've been to a comic book show, you probably know what I'm talking about. But overall, good experience. And let's jump into news.
Just before we do, I have a little show and tell I forgot about. So I'll put it on that camera. There you go. That is Friday night at the Twitch Bar, the new British IBM album. Not available to the mere general public until probably September. But if you jump on their Patreon, you can get a copy early. So there it is. Inside, track listing, and the CD. So that arrived last Friday, so I've been listening to that. So get yourself in on that action.
Some fresh tunes from Shady 80 and his band of shysters.
That's the one. Well, I sent the first one in this month, and it is The Terminator. From Tyler Hatfield, it says Mike. I suppose it means Scott Sparkle and Random as well, but he says Mike. Somebody made a side-by-side comparison of a scene from The Terminator and a part of the game Terminator Resistance, where you observe said scene from the film. Very impressive work from the developers. And that is a video. There will be a link in the show notes, as there will to all the items we discussed this evening, and maybe some that we don't.
All right.
Yeah, we got one from
here. Go ahead, Sparkle.
Got one from Gareth Hamer, and it's Guess Who's Back? The Japanese PC that ran the original Metal Gear is coming back after 30 years of extinction. MSX, folks. Yeah. It's a new model, the MSX3, and it's coming out this year. Wasn't real popular over here in America. I don't know about the UK. What do you say, Mike? Was it popular over there?
No. There is a community who's interested in it, and I have looked at some of the games on RetroPie. It's pretty easy to set up on there, and I recommend you do that. There's some great arcade ports on it, Japanese arcade ports, and some other good games as well.
So funny thing, I'm a big fan of the MSX, but it was one of those things that you really saw or read about in a magazine. You didn't. It wasn't a thing in the U.S., right? And but okay, you're talking about a hardware platform that's been gone 30 years. So I'm looking at the thing and I see, okay, USB, DB9, SD card in the front, what's in the back, and it looks like it's going to be a modern interpretation thereof. Kind of like how many attempts they've made to revive a modern iteration of the Amiga. There's been more than a few attempts. And in the end, just a Pi or, prior to the Mini Amiga, just a Pi with, UAE for all is 10 times what most of those efforts were. But, we'll see if it sparks some sort of cool parallel thing. I'm all good with that.
Yeah, I mean, they say it'll be ready at the end of the year, so we'll keep you posted as more things develop. There's a whole bunch of add-ons, like you said, ability to have Blu-ray discs and stuff play on. I think there'll definitely be, a small core that would be interested in this, but as far as mass market appeal, don't know.
No, I mean, the PC market has long since settled on, pretty much Windows for the masses, Mac for the pretentious, and Linux for the nerds. And it's I don't see those battle lines changing. I just don't see any way that anybody's like, you're not going to reintroduce the Amiga and have a fourth OS in the marketplace that barely tolerates the two that aren't Microsoft. I don't see it. But I mean, I'm not poo-pooing the project, get out there and build another, new Amiga with the original OS, but, now 64-bit or whatever you're going to do. I mean, I might even buy one if it's a cool idea, but I don't have any illusions of any of these re-entering the marketplace as a meaningful contender. So got one here from David Gyrich, and it says here that Yuji Naka of Sega has confirmed that Michael Jackson wrote music in Sonic 3. And that's kind of pretty much the story. He confirms that, yes, we can't use all of it, but we did. So Michael Jackson involves Sonic 3, I guess.
One from Gareth.
You know what?
Go on.
I feel like I have to look back at the interview for one of the Retro Magazine articles I wrote. I interviewed Chris Verena, who was the keyboardist for Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson, and I seem to remember that he wrote music for Sonic 3 as well. Anyway.
So if anyone's got a copy of Retro lying about, go and have a look for that. One here
the
from...
only one I ever regret pitching was the one with the full-size Glico Chameleon ad. That one, I got a picture of it in a trash can, posted it, funny. That's the one I wish I hadn't thrown away.
One here from Gareth Hamer. Get Lost, he says. A huge map that's free and remastered. This is for a game called Daggerfall, a remastered version of the all-time RPG classic from the Elder Scrolls series. You can play it for free. An article on Indie Retro News. I know nothing about the game, and I've never played an Elder Scrolls game either. But thank you for the article nonetheless.
And got an interesting one here, again from Gareth Hamer. Undiscovered Famicom port found. And he submitted this link here. And this fellow, it's a copy of Fairyland. And he found it, dumped it, and apparently it was a debug build from 25th of April, 1986. And there are substantial differences between this and the arcade version. And some of the level layouts are different, enemy placement's different, whatnot. But you know what he did? He did the right thing. He dumped the cart, put it online, and said, hey, guys, have at it. So, good job.
One here, again, from Gareth Hamer. And Gareth Hamer was a submitting fool this month. There was some talk in Discord about, was it David Gyrick last month who hammered the news? And Gareth was busy, so he said, I'm going to make up for it this month. He certainly has. So, this one from Gareth Hamer. New book focusing on GoldenEye 007. Excuse the nasalness. I'm going to stop and blow my nose in a minute. Boss Fight announces a new documentary book focused on GoldenEye 007. Boss Fight books are known as the publishers of multiple in-depth deep dives of beloved video games, from Metal Gear Solid to The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Each one written by mega fan authors, writers, and developers, often with interviews from the people who made the games. So, one to look out for your shelf or coffee table.
Hey, something near and dear to me is that in the Retro News, there is a new Metal Slug beta port for the Mega Drive and the Atari STE. Looks like a fan that goes by the name of Masteries has developed a new port for both those systems. It's in development. There's some videos of it playing at a smooth 50 frames per second with very few slowdowns. I think this is awesome, man. I mean, this was one of the best games on the Neo Geo. Certainly, is a feat that somebody was able to re-engineer this thing. They talk about some of the different compressed digital audio voices and what they've done in order to maintain a ROM size less than 8 megabytes. So they're still working through some of it, but it looks pretty interesting what they've been able to achieve here. So, God, can you imagine if Metal Slug would have been on the Mega Drive back then? Like how many copies that would have sold?
Oh,
I mean, that was like one of the reasons you got the Neo Geo, right? Because you wanted to play this, or you went to the arcade.
Yeah, but here's another side of that market. From Gareth Hamer, another submission. Capcom is willing to take a couple of their existing ROMs, roll them up into a thinly executed combo pack, and stick it on Steam and charge you for it. So, yeah, Arcade second stadium set to launch this July. And it's going to have 32 games announced in it. And basically, it's a emulator pack with 32 games. 1943, Vampire Survivor, Black Tiger, Eco Fighters, Hyper Street Fighter 2, Mega Man 2. I'm trying to find one. Savage Bees, Street Fighter Alpha 2, 3, Warriors Dreams, Super Gem Fighter, Super Puzzle Fighter, Tiger Road, and a bunch of other fillers. But I don't. Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess for the casual, they can roll up 32 games in a little emulator and go, here you go. I got 50 ways to play it. Now, you put it in a compelling, interesting packet. Again, this goes back to my rule of, crap products like this. Who cares? What do I need this for? What is this? What need this? I can already play this 100 other ways. And add something to it. Make something cool. Make the Capcom, Arcade Stadium 2 ultra handheld, and let you repurpose it or something. I don't know. Make a Raspberry Pi special edition case with an SD card that isn't DRM'd. Do something cool, man. But this isn't it. It's just another pack of games.
So we got a few Monkey Island related ones. First one sent in by Gareth Hamer. How to truly insult a pirate, he says. And you remember that game mechanic from the original game where you're sword fighting and you have to learn the responses to the insults. And there's an article here, fairly lengthy article, and Monkey Island creators recount the origins of its infamous insult sword fighting. So you can have a read of that. Link in the show notes, of course. And then a bit further down, I sent in a couple. Return to Monkey Island, a long-awaited follow-up to a classic adventure series, gets new gameplay footage. I think we mentioned the game last month or maybe the month before. So they are working on a new game, Return to Monkey Island. And for some reason, they got some shit for it. And so a little further down, I sent in another. Return to Monkey Island creator will no longer talk about the game following abuse. So he doesn't go into the abuse, but he shut down comments on it.
And that's why I won't be answering any more questions.
Yeah. I thought I sent another one in just further down about it, because they did release something else about it. Maybe it's not there. I can't remember now. Maybe I just read it and didn't send it. But yeah, some Monkey Island stories for you there. And Sparkle, I don't know if you've seen just further down. Someone's clicked on it because it's marked as red. Metal Slug beta ports for Mega Drive and Atari STE, sent in by Gareth Hamer. On Indie Retro News, so they are porting it to the Mega Drive.
Yeah, that's the one I read earlier.
Well, Gareth Hamer also submitted here Smoke and Mirrors Book Club, and I thought, ooh, well, it's not that. So it's just a Wired article about books about old games, blah, 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 blah. That's all fine and good, but for a moment, I thought maybe somewhere mainstream had finally picked up on Smoke and Mirrors. Oh, well.
Oh, well.
But, yeah, I mean, you want to get a book club going around, a podcast. Mike, what do you think? Should you head that up?
What was that? A podcast about the book, did you say?
No. They're doing book clubs, from podcasts or whatnot.
Oh, I've never thought about it. I think I do enough of a podcast.
Think about it. You could be, you could
That
do the whole
guy.
wingback chair thing with a hardback copy of Smoke and Mirrors. Evening.
Yeah, good evening. Get the pipe out and the top hat. Lovely.
Chapter 1. This motherfucker.
I found the other Monkey Island story that I sent in. It's going to release first on Switch. So maybe Scott will have something to play on his. So I've been looking at retro handhelds as well, because the Pandora I've got is great. It plays everything up to and including the PS1, but like I said, I've started Wind Waker on the GameCube. I'm looking to do some Dreamcast games and take them on the go with me, maybe some PS2 as well. And there are handhelds coming out now that will do it. A lot of them are Android-based, and I don't necessarily like all the Android emulators. I'd love to just, stick Linux on it, put RetroPie on there. And there are some that are Linux-based that are horrendously expensive, but I believe there's some coming out later this year. What's the manufacturer? Ioneo, is it? Ayaneo, I think they're called. So they have a couple of systems out, and they've got one coming out. Similar price to the Steam Deck, but a bit smaller because the Steam Deck is fucking massive.
I tell you what went on that I thought was an interesting revolution with building a basically a handheld RetroPie. They had for a while it was a hodgepodge formula of 3D print this, cut this, trim that, which is all fine and good. But if somebody comes up with a more modular, easier to assemble path, I mean, why wouldn't you do it? Why make things harder just to prove you can squeeze something into a case, right? So there has been now a number of these really affordable, like $100 for the case, the battery, the screen, the controls, everything. You just snap in a Pi compute module and done, right? Those suckers have gotten down well under $100 now. So you get that and you get a compute module and you're going, right? Only you can't get a compute module anywhere on the planet.
Yeah.
Nor a Pi, nor a Pi 3, nor a Pi 4, nor a Pi Mini. Absolutely nothing. The only Pis I've seen for sale are people selling, either untested, which means tested broken, or every time, or working, and just there's no way I'm going to pay $170 for a Pi 3B. But you can't get any of the Pi stuff right now.
Yeah.
Well,
got another good one here from Gareth Hamer. And it says, "Love me some duck mooning." I thought, what the hell is this? So he sent in a pretty interesting article here. It was off of Den Geek, 15 best NES soundtracks ever. And they set up some rules like, one entry per franchise, quality over quantity. And I thought pretty reasonable categories. Running through them real quick here, they picked Solstice, Gremlins the New Batch, Double Dragon 2, Ninja Gaiden 2, Super Mario Bros. 3. Just wonderful game musically. Final Fantasy, the whole Final Fantasy series is just great. Very, very Japanese-esque in the music. Battletoads, Castlevania 3, DuckTales, Batman, Metroid. I thought so. Metroid was just a great soundtrack. Silver Surfer, never really thought about that. Journey to Silius, kind of a new wave techno. I don't know, not techno, but new wave kind of keyboardy thing, synth pop. Mega Man 2, yes, and number 1, I think, well chosen, The Legend of Zelda on the NES. Definitely a great soundtrack. That game, man, I tell you what a tremendous effort on the first go. Just to nail down an RPG like that had such a different look and feel, but still was a overland adventure. Just something about it stood out from everything else at the time. So that soundtrack, definitely a part of making it stand out.
Yeah, there's an interview. All the news items we've ever discussed are on our website, and there's an interview with who was it? What's his fucking name now? Who did Zelda? Iwata? No, what's his name? Anyway, there's an interview.
Miyamoto?
There's an interview with him, and he goes through his inspirations for Zelda and how the game came about. So go back and check that out. I'm going to fucking Google it because it's doing me head in. What's his name? Miyamoto, that's the one. Couldn't think of it. Yeah. Satoru Miyamoto.
So I got one here that came in a bit earlier from David Gyrick, where Stern Pinball was at Comic-Con, which happened this past weekend, and there was a lot of speculation. It was like, hey, what's Stern gonna do? This article was, Stern gonna reveal the Venom pinball. Everyone thinks it's gonna be Venom because Todd McFarlane's gonna be there, who is the creator of Marvel's Venom. Ozzy Osbourne's going to be there. Ozzy, are they going to do an Ozzy pin, which I think would be pretty cool. And I don't know how the rights for Ozzy's music goes. Like if you'd be able to get some of the Black Sabbath stuff in there as well. But so basically they're releasing a new Patient Number 9. You could get your stuff signed from Ozzy and Todd McFarlane, and no new pin. So, if they are going to release something with him, it didn't happen at the show. I think some folks were let down, but I was talking to a buddy about it. I mean, I think Ozzy would be a good pin. Like, I don't know if you guys have played Rush yet, but
look, there's two ways I'd go for an Ozzy pin, and longtime Ozzy fan, but two ways that they could go for an Ozzy pin. If it very unironically had Sharon's voice asking you to insert another coin, hey, would you like to hear the soundtrack with this? There'll be another 50. And you just put it into 2 quarters, then it actually plays the soundtrack. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So just her trying to monetize the whole fucking game would be priceless. Or if every time Ozzy spoke, you didn't understand what he's saying. If it's just fucking Ozzy. like Family Guy, you walk up and you hit it, and it's whoa, it takes money to turn me on, giggity, and just have it fucking Ozzy. You just don't know what you score, hit a bonus mode, and it's just some nonsense from Ozzy. I think that would actually make it more endearing to his fans.
They could have like a little toy of her, like a magnetized toy in the corner, where if you the ball got too close, she'd clutch the ball and be like, demand you insert another quarter to get your ball back.
Right. Oh, yeah, you can keep buying. All right. Microtransactions in a pinball. This is the only time I prove it. If you keep having to buy shit as the game goes from Sharon.
Yeah, it would only take nickels and dimes so she could nickel and dime you. That'd be good.
And if you're doing badly and shout at the machine, it says,
"Stop shouting at me!"
But I don't know. I mean, honestly, I think like an Ozzy themed pin would be pretty cool. Like he has enough of a catalog. I mean, I listened to Crazy Train twice yesterday. I don't know, but you kind of need to get some of the Black Sabbath stuff in there to do it right. I don't know. Have you guys played Rush? Like Rush, I just kind of scratched my head. It's like, I don't know, like what else am I got like 2 songs that I really care about. That's it.
I tell you what, my thing with Rush, and I've not played the pin yet. I really like music documentaries. One of the best done ones I ever saw was Beyond the Lighted Stage. And it really made, I think, I always had respect for Rush as musicians, especially since they started off touring with Kiss, And I really think the documentary did a very good job in showing, even if you're not a big fan of everything they did, showing the work they put into it and how they became who they were. And you got to respect that, So I've always respected Rush. If you haven't seen Beyond the Lighted Stage, even if you're a 2-song Rush fan, watch it. I think even as a 2-song Rush fan, you would enjoy this documentary. Now, that said, for me, Rush is the older the better. That Rush is the band that I think peaked their first record and was a gradual downhill. Now, where they end, and of course, Rush fans are out there like, literally you can hear the hair coming out of their pores right now. If their landing was pretty good, their final, recordings were pretty good. Their first ones are better. I just, some bands, they start off like, Gwar, you go listen to their first album. Gwar, it was not technically recorded very well, and it was not their best effort. And you listen to the stuff they did even after Dave Brockie passed away, and, of course, Dr. Bishop running it, or not running it, but being, the front man and all. Gwar just got better and better every time. Their musicianship got better. Even if their stage show went up and down and members went up and down, they ended up even bringing back, some of the old school members that said they'd never be there again. And, I absolutely would love to see a Gwar pinball. That would be, you want to talk about an immediate purchase. Yes, I'm buying that the minute it's announced, a Gwar pinball. But you know, that's the thing. You know, every band has kind of an evolution. They have a best album. They have, you know, oh, that wasn't our best effort. You know, you ever listen to Ian Anderson talk about his stuff? It's, you know, he's the harshest critic of all. But I just think that Rush, you know,
I guess
the older you go back in their catalog, the better it gets.
there's not, you know, there's quite a few bands like that. I mean, you know, at least for me, Guns N' Roses' Appetite, like you can't top it.
See, Guns N' Roses, another example. Well, Live Like a Suicide was I guess their first, you know, and that was fucking amazing. Their version of Mamakin was amazing, much more raw than Appetite. Appetite had a bigger commercial hit, but not quite what, you know, the Live Like a Suicide was. Then, you know, you get into the Illusions and then the spaghetti. It just goes, oh man. And now you got what you got. But same thing.
Speaking of, actually, last month, and I highly recommend, you got a limited time if you're in the United States. I was lucky enough to get custom suites, VIP treatment to Motley Crue, Def Leppard, and like that show, Poison, and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. And I guess my understanding is like Motley Crue and Def Leppard take turns switching off like who the headliner for each show is going to be. Def Leppard headlined the night that I saw it, and they were good. I'm way more of a Crue fan, but man, did they blew it out. And like I thought everybody sounded really good. You know, I had zero complaints. I've seen all these guys several times. This may be your last opportunity to see them. Who knows? Like I saw the Ramones final tour twice, you know, because like they're like 95 or whatever. They're like, this is our last show. So I went out and saw them. They're like, it was so good. We're doing it one more year. So, you know, a lot of these bands do their final shows multiple times. But
guess what? 99, the farewell tour, and oh god, yeah. I mean, there's a great example of that. A band that just kept going after the retirement. Oh yeah, the Stones. I remember freaking like 1990. You know, the Stones were coming to Mud Island in Memphis, Tennessee. It was like, the Stones, their final effort. Come see them on the Steel Wheels tour. The Stones. You know, they're so old they won't make another one. And I remember, I was like, oh, the Stones, yeah, they're getting up there.
When did I see them? I saw them 2013 in Hyde Park, London. And that was a good show.
Yeah, my only complaint about Def Leppard would be that it was like the set dressing seemed a little bland. You know, like
that drummer is timing.
Yeah. They're from Sheffield. What do you expect?
Yeah, I mean, but like, you know, Motley Crue ends on Kickstart My Heart, you know, and then they shut down, and then Def Leppard comes on, and they're like, we're going to play this next one off our new album. And everyone's like, fuck you.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Now,
you've heard it.
Now, their new album is pretty good. You know, and like Motley Crue has like giant inflatable women and pyrotechnics and like all this stuff going off and like cage dancers, and like Def Leppard comes out and they just kind of have like spotlights, and you're like, you're going to play your new album? Like, get the hell out of here, you know? But, I mean, they played all their hits and stuff, so it was good. I mean, they all sounded good.
I saw a show like that near D.C., and it was Kiss on tour with Aerosmith, right? And I guess Aerosmith lost the coin toss, and they had to follow Kiss. So Kiss leaves the stage. You know, there's fucking, like, amplifiers hanging by one wire, fucking smoke still like literally drifting out over Bristow, Virginia. Fucking stage is on fire. There's shit and like confetti and fucking blood falling from the sky still. and people's ears are ringing. Kiss just closed the show, the rock and roll night party every day, right? And then the fireworks show. And then there's a little intermission. Then here comes Aerosmith. Sweet emotion. Sweet. And people are just fucking falling asleep in their seats, leaving, picking up their picnic shit, going for another beer. And I like Aerosmith. Jesus.
Yeah, I like Aerosmith. They got some rocking songs, but you can't follow up like a crazy close with like sleepy time music.
The fucking stadium has structural damage. Kiss just did it. And you're going to fucking open up a Sweet Emotion. Nope, not your best move.
No. Yeah.
So, got one here from Reader. Picked out this one. Thanks to Mr. James. Sega reveals that the Mega Drive Mini 2 is getting a Cyberstick replica. Well then, okay. That was a pretty cool controller when it came out. So I would like to see what they do with the Cyberstick. If it's see, this is a good example. Do I need another Dreamcast Mini? No. Do I have one? Yes. Does it play everything? Yes. Can I also play it on a modified Nintendo Mini? Yes. Can I play it on my RetroPie? Which one? Yes. No, I don't need this thing. You throw in a cool Cyberstick replica, and the whole thing has and it's modifiable to drop on the games I want to play with the replica Cyberstick. Yes, I will buy your product, sir. So, a manufacturer's listening. That's the criteria. Don't just stick together a bunch of ROMs I already got. Give me something cool. I'll buy your stuff.
Yeah, and last month we talked about the Mega Drive Mini 2. They'd only announced it in Japan, but they've since announced it for the US. I'm just trying to find the article, see when it is. I have a feeling it was October. Confirmed for North America. Yeah, October. So keep your eyes peeled. They're probably making about 5 of them.
All right, got one here. Let's see, from Spinal Cord. And this is the Game Boy camera into the Real. Game Boy Pocket camera transformed into a stylish mirrorless camera. Let's see. Game Boy camera enthusiast Christopher Graves has fused two passions, the Game Boy Camera M and mirrorless Game Boy camera, into a sleek design. It kind of looks like he's done a bit of the bolt-on stuff, like they've done with, remember like the iPhones for a while, like you could kind of put the like lens or whatever on it. So he's kind of done that and built some things together, bolted them together. It kind of makes like a little Game Boy camera. Pretty cool stylistically. I like how this allows you to make some very distinctive pixel art very quickly. So cool from the digital SLR. I was just reading last week. I want to say it's Nikon is actually getting out of the SLR business completely, which is
really
quite a shift.
They were like the freaking cornerstone of it.
Yes, they're still going to do mirrorless, but SLR going away, so they're getting out of that business. But check out the show notes on this. This is a little bit of fun. If you're a little bit of a camera enthusiast, it's interesting to see what he's put together here. I like seeing people be. There's definitely an artistic side to photography that I think is a little bit underappreciated. What goes into it? We see so much of this stuff. I conduct photo shoots in my day job, just ensuring the lighting's right and everything else. I think that there's a lot of bad photography out there on Instagram these days that people take with their phones. Photography's probably gotten better overall because so many people have them, but the lighting is so critical to a lot of this photography. And, we get requests all the time like, hey, just take a picture of like these coffee drinks and everything, and make it look like steam's coming out. You could take that real quick, and like the amount of preparation that goes into some of this stuff. There's a lot more behind the camera that you're not aware of. But yeah, check out this Game Boy camera. I like it.
All right, got one here from David Gyrich, and looks like Namco is going to re-release Pac-Man World as Pac-Man World Repack. So they're taking presumably the PS1 version of it, cleaning it up, and maybe some updates, and putting it out there in the world. So if you're a Pac-Man World fan, the Pac-Man World Repack is headed your way.
One from Gareth Hamer. He says, don't forget to update your drivers, because now apparently the legendary 3DFX Voodoo 5 gets a new driver update to support modern displays. So the article starts, do you have a DOS box? No, not the excellent DOS emulation software. I'm talking about a dedicated older PC for DOS software. Well, chances are if you do, you'll have a 3DFX Voodoo 5 in there, and you can update the drivers to support a modern display. Thank you, Gareth Hamer, for that. I'm just clicking on this one before I read it. It's from Charlie, and he says, fuck all of you copyright trolling pieces of shit.
Yeah, so that.
Oh, yeah, this is about the Pac-Man World. I knew there was something about this when Scott was reading it. The Pac-Man World remake, they're taking out Ms. Pac-Man.
I'm reading this, and I just got a big, giant WTF hanging over my head here.
Yeah.
It says here, Pac-Man related releases, as we previously reported, arduous and tiring license laws have seen the rights to Miss Pac-Man fall into disarray. With a petty dispute between Bandai Namco and developer AtGames, Plug and Play fame, they're keeping the character locked up in license in jail. So I guess they're not going to have Ms. Pac because of a licensing dispute. Wow, I mean, there's almost no original games coming out on any system. There's nothing for the new gen. There's years overdue franchise installments that aren't showing up. And now you're literally going to fail to put a Miss Pac in a pack. Whatever. No, I won't buy that one. Sorry. Get your shit together.
Okay.
A bow tie on this thing.
And with that, we could jump into another article from Gareth that is a demake. So the Half-Life is being remade. The Black Mesa is getting remade, but into the original Half-Life engine. So these modders, Black Mesa Source, there's like been a 15-year remake of the Source engine. So they're going to demake this game that was for the updated engine into the original Half-Life 1 engine. So why the hell are they doing this? So I guess the goal is to make Black Mesa a playable version on any sort of PC. So if you have like an ancient laptop or something that doesn't run modern games, well, you'll be able to play the classic on your ancient PC. It's a massive undertaking, and they're looking for additional mappers, modelers, animators, programmers, and whatnot to kind of finish it. So maybe a ways off still, but they are working hard to bring back Black Mesa to life in a playable version on the original Source. So there you go. I think it's interesting. I wonder if some of these projects sometimes are maybe like your business card or your application to get into gaming, where you can say, look, like I took this really complex thing and was able to sort of minify it or something. I don't know, because to me, do you think there's a ton of people wanting this?
Not a ton.
Ton?
No.
I wouldn't say a ton.
Yeah.
There might be enough to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, I appreciate the work that you're doing. So good luck to you.
So there's one here from Gareth Hamer. I haven't watched the video. It's a video on YouTube, 12 minutes long. The Water Games saga continues, and apparently they have been sued or are being sued for market manipulation. So I will watch that later. I haven't watched it yet, but you can join me in watching it by clicking on the link in the show notes, of course. So what's this one he sent in? A lot of dogging for 40k. No, I don't want any cookies. Piss off. Oh my word. I'm not clicking on that. It's taking me through Facebook. I'm not doing that. Did someone else send it a bit further down? Yes, David Garrick. Fan spends $40,000 to ask Nintendo about F-Zero. That was it. Did he pay to get on the board or something like that? So he could ask them a question and said, are you making any more F-Zero games? And so that was what he spent his hard-earned money on.
A gamer asked execs during the shareholder meeting about the game series F-Zero. He paid 5.6 million Japanese yen, or over $40,000, on Nintendo shares for one stock unit. So he got a stock unit, showed up, and said he'd been playing Nintendo games since he was a child and was a diehard fan. The fan asked Shuntaro Furukawa, the president of Nintendo, whether the company had considered relaunching some fan favorites to include F-Zero. The fan, who is based in Japan, of course he is, used an online translator to communicate, yada, yada, yada. He was to remain anonymous. And I don't see that where he replied. We are always considering how to develop new titles and remakes that can be enjoyed by many players. Wow, I hope that was worth 40 grand.
Yeah. Thank you for your question.
Wow.
So one here from David Garrick, Atari 50th Anniversary Collection. I think we decided last month it wasn't Atari's 50th. Maybe the name, but not the company. So they're releasing a collection with lots of interviews, a timeline, games across 6 platforms. The massive list of games spans 6 original Atari console and home computer platforms and generations of arcade titles. The most included in a collection by the team at Digital Eclipse. So not Atari then. So, thank you, Digital Eclipse, rather than Atari. But anyway, there might be some good stuff in the collection. And some filler, no doubt.
All right. Wow.
Well, I have one that's interesting. It's been making the rounds, and I think this has changed since the time the story was sent in. It was in television, Amico's trademark has been abandoned as another sign that it may never be released. But then it looks like there's been an update that it was abandoned, but then renewed. Like instead of being renewed, it was refiled. So I think this is still a little bit of a developing story. CEO Phil Adams stated that Intellivision's licensing out its legacy IP to developers who want to release games on other platforms to help fund the continued development of the Miko. But, it's just curious. Maybe it was an oversight from them that they let the copyright lapse, but then they refiled it quickly. Instead of renewing it, refiled. So,
yeah, because there's probably nobody there doing any kind of business operations whatsoever.
Yeah, I think Phil Adam at the time that the story broke, I think he came out with the excuse, "Oh, we have refiled, but it's just taken a while for them to update the website." And then, like a couple of days later, it was. So maybe they forgot and did it. Maybe there was a delay, but like, if it didn't lapse and get renewed, there'd be no delay. If they did it early and just kept the trademark going, there'd be no change on that page that said it's not, it's fallen away kind of thing. So I think there was a little shenanigans going on.
Oh, shenanigans seems to be the order of the day for them. Here's a couple of interesting phrases or lines out of this thing here. We are slowly processing refund requests. Okay. So let's say, not the word quickly was used here, my friends. Slowly. Just how slowly? Mike, let's say, for example, that I've got, I don't know, 10,000 refund requests to process, and I send one out. Now I'm planning on doing the next one. I am slowly processing those.
You're
requests.
slowly working your way through them.
And let's see here. The public's uncertainty of our status. Now, I think we're pretty certain of it. Has understandably led to an influx of pre-order refund requests. Because of reduced staff, yes, you've reduced it to 0, and finance requirements, you have no fucking money because it's all gone. Our responses to processing these requests has been delayed. Yeah, as I recall, the server's at the bottom of somebody's closet. There's no business left. Rest assured, our intention is to honor all refund requests. I think they intended to produce a console, don't you?
Yeah. Maybe they slowly are.
You can shit in one hand and tend in the other and see which fills up first.
Wow.
Well, dovetailing into that, Charlie sent in one saying that you own nothing. And with the Amico, that may be the case. You own nothing because who knows if that will ever come out. But this one was PlayStation Store removes purchased movies from library after service shutdown. So looks like some of their stuff is starting to disappear. So if you're in the UK and you had some Paddington Bear stuff, well, you might not be able to watch it anymore if you bought it digitally. Now, it's only affecting users in Germany and Austria, it looks like. Let's see. But they are discontinuing TV show purchases and some other stuff. So it looks like there's some other titles kind of looped into this. Chicken Run, John Wick, big fan of those movies. Saw, Shaun the Sheep, Tinker Tailor Toy Spy, some other stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. I think it's, for me, I've been kind of blissfully accepting of digital purchases over the last several years, primarily because I kind of started off on Steam and shit. I can go on there and pick up something I bought 15 years ago and still play it. It's not been a problem. I've not had anything abandoned or shut down to me personally. I think once that happens, maybe I'll start to think differently about it. But yeah, I mean, I know that Scott, you're strongly against a lot of these digital purposes.
Yep,
primarily
because I'm telling you,
of
man,
it,
look, we've already seen it especially with like news and media. They shadow edit articles incessantly. Books that fall out of favor, things that were, on Monday perfectly normal, suddenly on Friday are now, being digitally vanished into dust. And the one way, and I think this is going to be an increasing problem in the future, the one way that you're going to keep whatever it was that you had at one point is if it's archived yourself. And that's why they're constantly pushing to move, I think, to cloud computing, other things, digital distribution. They want it to be a rental environment and you have nothing. And I'm not going that way. So fortunately, you know what? Let's say I live another 40 years. That's 90. I got enough games and enough games archived, enough things coming up. I'm good. But yeah, I just don't. There's no way I'm going to subsidize that crap.
No, I don't have a big Steam game library. I've maybe got a dozen titles, but I bought stuff on GOG because on there you get like a decrypted installer for most of the stuff I bought. It never checks a server. You just install it. You can do it offline, and you've got that installer forever. So GOG slightly different, but yeah, Steam. It's always when you purchase it, maybe you've got it forever, maybe you haven't, and probably you haven't.
So here's a great way to facilitate having such things. Dave Lanke submitted this, and it is the Raspberry Pi Pico mod chip for the GameCube. So somebody has taken a Raspberry Pi, the Pico edition, and has concocted a mod chip out of it. And it pretty easy to install. Looks like a 5-wire mod. None of the pads are particularly difficult. Some of them are on an IC. It looks like there's 2 of them on IC and 3 of them on a pretty good breakout pad. So should be probably going to the drive connector, I guess. Shouldn't be hard to do, and we'll let you run whatever the hell you want to run on your original hardware.
Yeah, it was neat, that one. I can't remember if we've seen this before. It's from Gareth Hamer. It's called The Wide Boy. It's a YouTube video, and it's someone who's modded an original Game Boy and changed the form factor of it, so it's a landscape console.
Yeah, there's been, I think, at least one. We've seen it before.
Yeah, so it's not a kit you can buy. He sacrificed 2 shells to make it, but yeah, interesting change, but yeah, thank you for that one. So I know Sparkle's got to go at some point, and he's got other stuff to do. There's another pinball one I just wanted to throw by you. We were talking about music-related pinball earlier, and who's this company? The Swedish pinball company Pinball Brothers have today officially announced the launch of their Queen pinball machine. So what do we think of that? I mean, Queen have got some great songs, some classic songs that I think would probably work well in a pin. But looking at it, I don't know. I'm not overly enthused by the look of the machine.
You know, it's a little weird in like after the what the hell was it, like the Queen's Jubilee celebration or something? Did you see it? Watch that on TV?
Did I fuck? It was on. I know it was on. I didn't watch it. But.
Yeah, like I don't think it. Like I feel like it was on like every station over here.
Oh yeah, like 24 hours.
One of my family members like had it on. I kind of walked through the room and I was like, "Oh, cool! Like Queen is gonna play." And then it was just kind of like cringe for me. I think we pulled up we did this Queen one before, where it's the custom modded Queen. We talked about this one.
You were?
Yeah, we did. Where it's just a one-off prototype.
Yeah, I think there. I mean, just like Metallica, Rush, Kiss. I think there's a Queen pinball out there. I mean, come on, tremendous titles, especially if they can, again, the licensing to do like a Flash Gordon mode, Bohemian Rhapsody mode. I mean, come on, man, that would be killer.
I mean, it just looking at, like, if you look at the playfield, you've got the Twin Towers of the Wembley Stadium, and it just looks like I've 3D printed it. It doesn't look to be the best machine out there, certainly.
No, this is just a I think like a prototype.
Right.
Hey, real quick, there is a massive thunderstorm moving through my area now, and if I lose power, I've got about for this stuff out here about an hour on the UPS. But if the power goes out for the area, the cable likely drops. So if I suddenly disappear,
that's where you've gone.
Got one here from Gareth Hamer. Funny enough, it says their dream is still alive. And it's a link to an IGN article about how the Amico is still in development and some updates on the CEO's trademark issue. You click on it, it goes to a 403 not found. So, no, it isn't.
One here from Gareth Hamer. He says, the horror. A madman decides to cram Morbius onto the Game Boy Color. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, for the most part, has been filled with excellent films that are highly rated by fans and critics alike. Then there are the Marvel films that Sony puts out. So you can read this article. I don't know if it's available as a download. I can't see a link to the game ROM, but somebody's done it for some reason.
So, funny enough, got one here from Gareth Hamer, a steam-powered Speccy. I'm like, what is this? And I'm thinking somebody maybe built a steam engine, running a little generator, running a USB, for power conditioning, running a Spectrum. No. Um, it's a compilation of games on Steam. Okay, great. Now, let me ask you this, Mike, since you're local. I think ZX Spectrum is a pretty cool system, and I've played many of the games in emulation. I have a ZX Spectrum purchased on the spot at an expo, and I think it is cool. I mean, it was a minimal spec system, below I think substandard spec, but kind of like the Commodore 64. For whatever reason, it just has some sort of personality, I think, and so I've come to like it a great deal, and I think the success we've seen with Retro Game Biz doing the C64 and now the Amiga 500, hopefully Amiga Maxi real soon. Would you say there's a market for a ZX Spectrum with a HDMI on the back that does faithful emulation with a replica keyboard on the front that feels like the original? Would you buy a modern interpretation that you could just plug up to the TV right in front of you and play?
So the market was kind of tainted by the Vega, which was sort of that, but
was
not
a giant taint.
Yeah, but it was sort of that, but not quite. It wasn't, the full keyboard. It just had, like D-pad and a few buttons to get you through the games that were on it.
Yeah.
But there was a whole scam involved in that. But then you look at
vigorously.
Yeah. Then you look at the success of the Next, which, yes, isn't a ZX Spectrum. It's kind of, its relationship to the Spectrum is kind of like almost what the Amiga is to the C64. It's what would have been the next Spectrum. But there's a massive Spectrum community out there, certainly in this country, but it's very popular, as Simon will tell you, in Poland and places like that.
Oh, yeah.
There were lots of clones of it as well over there. I mean, you got a rebranded one by Timex. So there is a massive market for it, and I think it would be a good seller, to be honest. And there are some great games on there, no doubt.
But a quality replica, not a $39 shell, but $150 US that has, as far as you take it out of the box, you would swear it's the original, brand new. But HDMI on the back, and you can load whatever the fuck you want. I'm telling you, I think it could be killer.
I do too, but there'd be some arguments about the keyboard they used on it. Obviously, the original has the spongy keys.
Look, back then, in theory, you might actually type a school paper, okay? Mm-hmm. At least the premise was there for your parents, you might.
Yeah.
Okay? Who the fuck's going to do anything but really load the games right off the USB through the front-end loader? I mean, I don't think that the keyboard is... I mean, having it faithful to the original, to where it look and feels the original, I think it's going to suffice for every bit of use it's going to see, except for that one guy out there, the one with the shorts and the tube socks and the lazy eye, that's going to stand there at the side of the uncomfortably close to coming around the booth at the expo thing, who's going to stand there. I noticed it was inappropriate that they used the original membrane keyboard when in fact they didn't have to do that. Why did they do that? But I was thinking, would it be a great idea if they canceled these and then remade them with the keyboard that would be more functional than the original?
You say that, but then a lot of people, because the Spectrum didn't have a joystick interface, it wasn't like the C64.
Use a cheetah. I got one right here.
You just plug a joystick in, and a lot of people use a Kempston interface and things. So a lot of people would have played, platformers with the keys, ZX to go left and right, and various other combinations of keys for different games. So a lot of people would have been keyboard gamers back then, certainly on the Spectrum.
Any original keyboard worked well enough for that. I mean, I just think that if the same guys that put out the C64 put out one of these of the same quality, I know I'd buy one right away.
Yeah, I think
And
there's definitely a market for it. Definitely. Because they can't make the next fast enough. And that does have I'm sure that has a 48K mode, so you can, it's back compatible. So, yeah, but they can't make them fast enough.
Speaking of something else that came back, Nintendo DSi and Wii Shop channel. After months of downtime, the Wii Shop channel and the DSi shop are back and available to access. Both servers were quietly made inaccessible back in March. When asked about their status at the time, Nintendo subsequently told Eurogamer the stores were undergoing maintenance. Well, I guess they brought them back. Maybe they were looking to see if they could slip away quietly.
Yeah. There's another Nintendo one further down. Who sent this one in? It might have been me, actually. Yes, it was. Nintendo says stop using its 2005 Wi-Fi dongle. So this was a dongle you could plug into your computer, your DS. I think it was the DS would connect to it via your PC, and you'd get online. Apparently, those are not secure, and you should stop using it.
How old is that now? What, 17 years?
Oh, God, yeah. At least, yeah.
Yeah, I have one somewhere, but I wouldn't really think it'd be viable today.
No.
So, got one here from Dave Lanky. Nintendo fan makes tiny portable SNES and TV. Pretty cool. It looks like it is it looks like a GameCube size, but with a Japanese SNES cartridge on top and a screen on the front with SNES type controller inputs on the front. I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it does.
Let's see here.
It looks like it could be like an actual product.
Yes, it does. I mean, that looks... I could have seen Nintendo selling. Now the screen wouldn't have been obviously that bright, If you think of like the for the little PlayStation, that tiny little one, they made the flip up screen that went on the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it would have been a little more faded and washed out look. It would have been an era appropriate screen. But yeah, I think that could have been a great Nintendo product.
So, one here from David Gyrick, and it is an English patch for a classic Sony PS1 game, and it's out July 11th, so it's out now by the time you hear this. And the game is Aconcagua, not one I've heard of, but it's a Japan-locked cinematic epic, apparently, so you can download an English patch for it and play it now.
Wow. Okay, here's something clever. Again, you make a good product, people will buy it. So Gareth Hamer here submitted this from the Dreamcast Junkyard, and looks like they are coming out with a updated VM2. So it's going to have a proper injection molded shell, backlit monochrome LCD. Let's see here, micro SD slot. It's going to have the 4 times capacity, so 128 kilobyte pages of memory, embedded LiPo battery. Let's see, you can charge it from a micro USB or access the data on it. And it looks like you'll be able to do some management of games stored. So, looks pretty cool. I can only imagine maybe what sort of VM mini games might come out for this thing. Projected price around $100 for one VMU. But they make a point here that back in the day, one VMU have cost you $75. So still, that's a pretty cool set of features. It'd be nice if they got it down to like 2 for $100, but seems like kind of a reach. But good product.
One here from Gareth Hamer, Doomception, he calls it. And now, apparently, you can run Doom inside Doom. So even Doom will run Doom. In a nutshell, Doom has become the go-to test to determine blah, blah, blah. In 2015, we highlighted a Doom mod that let you play Doom inside Doom. So why is it only just a news thing now? I don't know, but the article's there. You can read it without me reading it to you. But Doom runs Doom. So that's good.
I got one here. I figured UK would read this because he loves brawlers, but he didn't. And this one was sent in by David. It is Brawlers Alley Magazine, the first ever beat 'em up magazine, bringing you the latest news, previews, and reviews. Sounds familiar, but this is issue 1, which came out last month, June. And let's see here. The first one was featuring Ninja Turtles. And it's a bunch of people I haven't necessarily heard of. Ricardo Savino, Katia Carvalho, Scotty J, some other people. Special thanks. But this is a Brawlers magazine, so I don't know how long you can do this. I mean, I guess you can for quite some time. Looks like the issue's free on Google Drive, and the layout's okay. Nice first attempt. I think that this is something you could download digitally, kind of read all about. I personally feel like you'll maybe run out of content after a while for maybe doing just fighters, but it's kind of weird. Like, they have an ad in here from Konami. I don't know if this is just like something they stuck in here or if they actually got sponsored by
No, they
Konami.
had an email from Konami.
But yeah, it's interesting to say the least. I mean, 52 pages, so there's a bit of content there. I think I'll probably keep an eye on it and see what happens, but I don't know how this is going to be monetized. If this is, is this just like a labor of love? They do ask that you could donate $2 to help them make the next issue. I don't see. Oh, there is a button on the bottom of their website, and then you can donate that. You have to like click through to their PayPal to donate. So, it goes to somebody I think in Brazil or something like that. Brawlers Alley at Gmail. So a little plug for them. Kind of tickles a warm place in my heart to see somebody working on a magazine. So if you are looking for something to read, you could download it to your digital device or maybe read it on your computer or print it out yourself if you want to. Support them. $2, I think, is not a lot of ask. There's a lot of work that went into this. So nice little read. If you're into Brawlers, there you go. Brawlers Alley.
There you go. So this is an interesting one sent in by Gareth Hamer. You can read at your leisure and discuss with your friends. He said it's not going to happen, but what do you guys think? Publishers can delist old games if they want. That's fine, as long as they accept abandonware status and, in turn, don't go after people who continue to distribute them. So, yeah, it's not going to happen, but an interesting thought, I guess.
So, got one here from, oh no, it's frozen. It's unfrozen. Peter Gibbs, Sunday Fun Day. So basically, it's an article over on Den of Geek of the last official and last unofficial NES games released. Now, obviously, they mean, I guess, during the period it was in production because there are games being released right now for the NES. Basically, it's the last two games linked and sort of talks about the performance challenges of it and how they don't really measure up. So Give it a read. Link will be in our notes as always.
One here called Sunday Funday from Peter Gibbs. He says, this article contains the phrase, the infamous religious skateboarding game Sunday Funday.
And that's one I just read.
Is it? Oh, all right then. Maybe that was when I went to switch on the light.
Yeah, so another one from him, random article off of Nintendo Life, Mario Kart 64 nearly had a no item mode to appeal to F-Zero fans. So the article goes on to say, you know, basically there was a sort of a divide between the popularity of F-Zero and Mario Kart, where Mario Kart is now on 8 Deluxe, and they've had arcade games and all this other stuff, where it's been almost 20 years since F-Zero Climax came out in Japan in 2004. I don't know. Excuse me. I always kind of liked F-Zero games. That was they were pretty fun. I don't know why they never really continued after that, but I guess they didn't sell well or something. But I mean, they've certainly used a lot of the characters. But anyway, they're gonna help some people that were more of the F-Zero fans, where they're going to have a mode in Mario 64 where they dropped out of any kind of items. So it was just for more serious racing. You know, I don't know if they would have adjusted the rubber banding and things like that, but yeah, one of the lead guys, the game director, we're going to butcher this one, Hideki Konono from N64 was the one that said that they were testing that out, but ultimately kind of abandoned it. So I don't know. It seems like it would have been easy to add a mode with no items and stuff like that. I don't know if there would be a way to turn off the rubber banding. I think that would have probably made it a bit more serious as well. But there you go.
So one here from Charlie. It's pretty neat. It's not something I've heard of before. It's 2XL, the talking robot. And this is an online simulator of it. So just go on this page, and it's a load of cassettes and covers. And so this was a robot, had like 4 buttons on the front or something. So you put a cassette in there, started playing, and it would say, press 1 to do this. You'd press 1, and it would play you that bit of audio. So somebody has put in a ton of time and effort into this site. Just scrolling down, you see how many cassettes there are on there. They've digitized them all, and you can recreate playing with a 2XL robot on this site and go through all the stories. Now, it is aimed at a younger audience. There's a Batman thing there and what have you, but the ones I tried were like just little kiddie ones. I'm guessing it is more of a kiddie robot, but pretty neat that someone spent the time and effort to do that. And Scott's gone off camera. Is he gone to get his 2XL robot? I bet he has. We'll await his return. I can play a nice little tune while we await his return.
Ooh, Fab Bob Freddy.
Actually, I better stop it before YouTube takes us off for copyright, but there you go.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's gone to see if the power's gone out.
Maybe. Let's see. Did we do this in another story? So this one was sent in that there is a new Sega Genesis Mini 2 coming out, even more powerful, on October
we did.
27th.
Yeah, it's been...
Hey, does it include a cool joystick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. Well, you know, sometimes there's multiples of these things sent in and you kind of get confused.
Yeah. So, one from me. Doom designer John Romero is working on a new FPS with a major publisher. Scant details at the moment, but he shared the news in a statement posted to Twitter, revealing the project is being handled by Romero Games. Beyond that, details are thin, blah, blah, blah. And no time frame on it. I'm just looking down.
I know some designers in the industry, and there's a lot of people kind of interested to throw their hat in the ring on this one to get an opportunity to work with him. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some folks from Naughty Dog or some of the other sort of heralded places kind of tossing their hat in the ring on this one. But, in other news, it's not here. Sony finalized their acquisition of Bungie this past month as well.
All right, got one here from Gareth Hamer. And it's a pretty cool article on solid platformers on the PC back in the day. So they give mention to some games like Jill of the Jungle, which I always liked. I thought it was a decent, credible jumper. Of course, the Gianna sisters, not mentioned, but huge. Rick Dangerous, Captain Comic, they mentioned. I always love the Captain Comic games. I thought those were just a great series. A lot of those in that sort of CGA, EGA gaming era. Definitely ones that I spent a lot of time playing on the road.
One here from David Gyrick, Yars Recharged, and it's a link to a YouTube video. It's the latest title from Adam Vision Studios and Sneaky Box, the team behind the Atari Recharged series. And the video looks pretty neat. You can see how it's influenced by Yars. There's some of the elements of the original Yars Revenge in there. It can be a bit hit and miss for me, these remakes and what have you, but it does look a pretty decent game, though, just watching the video.
Oh, this is cool. Potentially. Got a link here from Gareth Hamer. Want to link your own Zelda game together. And it's an article on PC Gamer. And let's see here. It says we first published this article in September 2017. Solaris is still going strong today. So looks like they put together a editor to put together your own, kind of like Mario Maker. It's Zelda Maker. Let's see here. Huge article. It's pages and pages and pages long. Definitely, if you're interested in whacking together your own Zelda, check it out. It looks pretty cool.
So one here from Charlie. Too much Sonic crap. And it is a Texas man who breaks the world record for the largest Sonic the Hedgehog collection. And I don't think we need to say too much more about that. There's not much to say. He's got a big Sonic collection. More than anyone else.
He's got a lot of Sonic stuff. I'll give him that.
Yeah. Oh, this one's just come in 14 minutes ago. Dirty George Lutz again. Porn finds a way. Fellas.
Schmutzy Lutz.
I thought this would be an interesting read. It's like when the cartel smuggles cocaine into cases of bananas, but in this case, it's the Chinese digital version of smuggling porn. So let's take the risk. Let's click on it. Chinese gamers are using a Steam wallpaper app to get porn past the censors. If you've been on Steam, the world's largest PC gaming platform, you might have noticed an anomaly on the chart of the top 20 most popular apps. Wallpaper Engine. The software is pretty cool. It allows you to download animated and interactive wallpapers for your machine's monitor. It's hard to explain why it's shown up at the top, blah, blah, blah. The epiphany will come when you begin to read Wallpaper Engine's many reviews. More than 200,000 of them are written in Chinese, stretching back 6 years. All these reviews, almost all, talk about one thing, porn. So there you go. It's a long article, but you get the gist of it. So thank you, George, for keeping it dirty and keeping it real.
And keeping it real dirty.
Yeah. And that, I think, just about brings us to the end, does it not?
Right up to the big completion
Yeah.
with Schmutzy Lutz.
Let me just copy that one in for George. A late submission, but a worthy one and a good one to finish on. So, that's it for news for another month. Thank you particularly to Gareth Hamer, who smashed it this month after a lackluster month last month. You made you made up for it. Thank you for anyone who tuned in. I don't think there was many. There's none at the moment. But thank you for listening back to the podcast. And if you haven't already, send Simon some congratulations on smashing 100 episodes. And we shall see you again next month. So say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Well, I'll say it if no one else will. Good night, everybody.
Well, I said it.
You did.
But you know what? I was busy thinking for a moment.
Ah, shit, I was on mute.
I had a SoCal-esque moment where I thought of a service that would be of absolutely little value and would annoy the piss out of others. You know, they have like Cash App, Venmo, and all that.
Yeah.
It's started to be a thing now here in the States, at least, where people will put up like on their car, like their Cash App or their Venmo, and like they'll literally write it on there with something, and they'll say like, buy the bride a drink, getting married this day, and they'll have their Cash App and Venmo, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, how great would it be to have something like Beer Mo? So you could buy Butler a beer. Like, so it goes right to you pick his pub, and then you pick how many beers, and it prepays him, right? Then I thought, how many fucking assholes will be barging into their local fucking bars, bothering the piss out of their bartenders? Anybody bought me a beer today? I really use a beer. Can you imagine the nuisance that those people would make of themselves?
So you can actually do that in Weatherspoons over here. They've got their own Weatherspoons app, and you can literally be sat in the bar with your table number. You go on the app and you order beers, and they bring them over. And people do it rather than having the experience of going to the bar, chatting to the barman, giving a tip or whatever, and picking up your actual beer. People do it. But I did it one night when my daughter, when she was still in college, she went into Cambridge with a few of her friends, and they were in Weatherspoons, and I was chatting with her about something, and she said, "Oh, we're in Cambridge. Where should we go?" So I told her a few of the hot spots. Anyway, after a while she ended up in Weatherspoons, and so I said, "What table are you on?" And she gave me the table number. So I ordered like about 3 rounds of cocktails and had them sent over. She's like, "Dad, have you just bought us some drinks?"
Dude, you should have been from that handsome fellow over in the corner and let them wonder which. They'd be looking around, you're like some fucking guy that looks like a deshelled turtle, over in the corner, and then his other creepy looking guy. Wait, is it the rapist or the pedo? Or the way, I'm sorry, the sex pest.
The sex pest pervert.
Something. One of the folks involved with Retro called me randomly out of the blue. I haven't spoke to him in quite some time.
Oh boy!
This past weekend with a business pitch, and I don't know if he was, like in an altered state or what. I'm not going to say who it was, but
wait, was this individual at all special?
No, it wasn't SoCal, but.
No.
No, it was the other guy.
So
we know who it
was like, hey, when you watch Shark Tank and there's like some dumb invention where it's just like, a clip to hold like glasses or something. They sell it for like $5 million. Or, it's like right there in front of you. Like he went into some business pitch on monetizing basically like OnlyFans people and how we could like become coaches to coach them, and how there's like this whole world of people that are interested in this like niche porn stuff called popping, where you pop balloons on your genitals or something, and like we could sell coaching to these people how to better monetize their content. And I couldn't, I had to stop listening to it at one point. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like brilliant. I think it's a winner. I just, I'm too busy right now.
Yeah, I wish you good luck with it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Woo.
So what else has Martin been up to? You okay, UK?
No.
You seem to have distanced yourself from the microphone.
I knew you were going to say it as well. Jesus. Oh, my brain's coming out my nose. Right, and on that note, it's time to go. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Dun, 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 dun.